It's the 7th of the 12th month of 1437, 29 through 110, 1432, dwelling in Clark County's most sacred place, are 8:19 p.m. Friday, the 19th, till 8:30 Pacific Daylight Time on Wednesday, the 31st of August, 2011. Friday, the 19th of August, 2011, I left home at 8 p.m. to arrive at 8:19 Pacific Daylight Time. I don't know why I put standard time on the paper. At Masjid al-Nur to do the Itikaf to finish Ramadan 1432. That night's prayer pauses, Taraweeh as-Salat, included Al-Quran, Surah 9, 1 through 47. One important matter a person might have learned that night is al-Muslimin do not fight, but to restore the peace, and strive to establish and maintain treaties. See Al-Quran 9:4, 9:7, and 9:12. Oh yeah, 9:24 is a very good one. The three things: you love God and the messenger and striving in his cause, more than the five main types of relationship and the three main, three categories of wealth. And to restore peace, very interesting one, this Peace and Justice Fair. Their logo with the bird, letting the bird go, kind of reminding you of Noah's, after the destruction of a world flood that covered all the mountains and ridiculous exaggerations, a global coastal flood, or the causing, or maybe even the causing the Black Sea or something where everything in sight was covered in water. Whatever it's meant, that magnificent destruction, by the bird, which is a kind of strange thing for a Peace and Justice Fair, but I guess, to restore the peace. Because why are we making such an effort if it's just there, Between 12:35 and 1:15 a.m. on August 20th, I dreamt of being splashed with waves of electricity among flashing lights. During this, I felt a current of electricity go through me. The Qiyam Salat, rising at night prayer, included Al-Quran, Surah 30 through 31:30. Al-Quran 30:30 has a simple definition of religion as perfect when upholding a pure monotheism and the natural law. The next surah has its 12th through 20th ayat, referring to the story of Luqman and his advice to his son, but we are reminded not to follow our parents blindly in the next verse. That day, I listened to Muhammad Marmaduke Pickthall translation. I listened to the Muhammad Marmaduke Pickthall translation of Al-Quran, Surah 2, with Abdul Basit reciting the Arabic. There is the mention of 6 pillars of faith in verse number 285. They are to believe in God, the unfallen angels, light beings, Devis, Ahoras, Malaika, all this, it's all the same. God's revealed scriptures, all God's messenger prophets, at least 124,000, maybe 144,000 or so, to invent no distinction or have no discrimination between the avatars, sent ones of God, messenger prophets, apostles of God, and that God ultimately controls destiny. The whole chapter is said to be the means to exercise a place when said with faith in it. It is the best chapter of Al-Quran. In 255, we have Al-Quran's best verse. We have that Al-Quran is for God-conscious people who believe in the unseen realms, pray, contact prayers, and give alms. The divine revelations before Muhammad ibn Abdullah and what the last exemplar prophet, Nabi, received, and have conviction in the existence in the hereafter. See Al-Quran 2:2-4. We have the reminder that Al-Quran you're supposed to say Yarhamukallah. We have the reminder that Al-Quran is really to be a confirmation of the purity in the original scriptures in Ayat 101. The central numbered verse, or 143, reminds us of how the community of Islam is to be balanced on the middle path law, which is really called Sharia by those who know what they are talking about. Signs 97-99 align us on the side of all of the light beings, particularly Gabriel, Revelation, and Michael, War and Hellfire. Sign 100 links disbelief in angels who never disobeyed God and never had free will like men, and fallen angels, fire beings, asuras, devas, jinn, to breaking the covenants with God and men. Verse 102 refutes the idea that trickery and evil magic, playing with the jinn, seher, can be attributed to the likes of Solomon, or even justified by referring to the Babylonian entities Harut and Marut. Many other great and important things are expounded in this very important chapter that took 3 hours, 45 minutes, and 38 seconds to listen to. Tarawih, as-Salat, was Surah 33 on the 21st of Ramadan, 1432. I say in my diary, question, dopamine, question, of the month before Tarawih. I do remember I was referring to an experience laying down, listening to Al-Quran, scrying into the ceiling that Sunday night. And this must have been, yeah, this was in the masjid. Of month before Tarawih. Oh, so I mentioned it was an experience that night during the retreat, but I talked about something before. Between 1:35 and 1:55 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time on August 21st, 2011, I dreamt the following. I saw a large open-ended building on a colorful floor. Its floor was square with a pillar in each corner. Its courtyard was multicolored and multi-signed, while the building had one color set. The Tahajjud, a salat, prayer after rising, before dawn, was Surah 20, ayat 1 through 87 of Al-Quran on the 22nd of Ramadan, 1432. I listened to Al-Quran, Surah 52 and 53 with Muhammad Marmaduke Pickthall translation that night. I finished my study summary of Sahih Muslim, Volume 4, Number A that day. I listened to Al-Quran, Surah 4 with the MMP translation that day. Taraweeh, a salat, was Suwar 21 through 22, 17. Verse 17. On the 22nd of Ramadan, 1432, between 3 and 4:20 a.m. on August 22nd, 2013, was this dream. Everything was divided into rooms. The shape of it all was like a square of broken glass, contained without the shards going everywhere. There was no prayer after sleep, tahajjud, a salah, or group witr, odd number, of vows prayer for me. I listened to Al-Quran, Surah 4, with the Marmaduke Pickthall translation that day. Maybe I mean 5. Oh, well, maybe it took me more than one day because it's over 2 hours. I made a rose scent offering symbolizing transformation that day. I left some incense to burn in the name of God. Taraweeh, as-Salah, was Al-Quran 24 through 25:6 on the 23rd of Ramadan, 1432. I was by the water. The sand was green, the sky was lavender-colored, and filled with dark, colorful clouds. A great beast arose out of the froth of the waters. It bellowed in multiple tones at once. Its language or message is unknown to me at the moment of recording my memory of my dream between 12 and 3:30 a.m. on August 23rd, 2011. So I say no more. Now, I'm not saying it's a spirit. There's weird stuff out of the water. I'm not sure we know them all. And the idea that something could be big to a human and still be out there, it's possible. There was no group witr or tahajjud for me. I listened to Al-Quran, Surah 5 and 6 with the MMP translation. Taraweeh as-Salah was Surah 27 through 28, 13 on the 24th of the 9th month of 1432. Between 12:12 and 3:30 a.m. on August 24th, 2011, I dreamt that amongst all I saw was a dark sphere which stayed still. It was within a square which changed color, like you see with the thermometer that changes color with changes of temperature. Around that was like tentacles moving, but no sign of life was detected in them. Colorful clouds were the remainder of outside the moving pieces. The colors shifted slow at times and fast at others. I listened to Al-Quran, Surah 7 and 8. Surah 7 and 8 with the MMP translation that day. I also made a rose scent offering, meaning contact of other planes and Venus of air. Taraweeh as-Salah was Al-Quran 29 through 30 on the 25th of the 9th month of 1432. Between 12:35 and 1:05 a.m. on Thursday, August 25th, 2011, I saw something like tearing flesh without bleeding. When I arose, there were colors around everything for about 15 minutes. Qiyam, long-standing prayer, was Al-Quran 38 through 32:14. I listened to Al-Quran, Surah 9, 10, and 56 with the Marmaduke Pickthall translation that day. Taraweeh as-Salah was Al-Quran 32, 11 through 33, 54 on the 26th of the 9th month of 1432. between 2:47 and 4:09 a.m. on Friday, the 26th of August 2011, burst of color showered around a small dark tree like water from hoses. It was a fragrant tree and remained unaffected by what went on around it. There was no tahajjud or group witr that night. Well, for me at least. Some of the retreats, there was actually gaps where there were days where others didn't, but I'm not sure that since we moved to our current building that was the case. I listened to Al-Quran 18, 32, 62, and 76 with the MMP translation that day. I also made a rose scent offering, meaning divination. Not shirk, but meditation to derive knowledge or experience. No, from yourself. You're asking God for things, that sort of thing. Not that you shuffle cards and, I can tell the future, or, well, I'm thinking random things based on random things, so it must, no, that's... There are certain things associated with that I'm not saying about this. Tarawih as-Salat was Suratain 35 and 36 on the 27th of the 9th month of 1432, and the 6th bow, and the 11th and 12th prostrations, 2 per bow, standard prayer. Of the prayer pauses, I moved through different colored layers, as I went through the layers that I prostrated through. Between 12:47 and 4:30 a.m. on Saturday, the 27th of August 2011, I was somewhere with a feeling like I was breathing menthol. Now, there was no menthol present, but, it had that smell. And I don't mean like people smoking, I mean like... I saw a piling up of different colored bubbles. The pile dispersed when it reached a certain number. There was no tahajjud or witr salah for me that night. I listened to Al-Quran 11, 12, 17, and 20 with the MMP translation that day. Tarawih as-Salah was Surah 39 through 40, 31. On the 28th of the 9th month of 1432, in the 5th rakat, portion of prayer containing 1 bow, before the bow, a clearish thing flowed over me from above me. It flowed downwards and out of sight. My hair stood on end at that moment. On Sunday, the 28th of August 2011, between 2:07 and 4:20 a.m., there was a rushing of many mighty winds. I stood upon a vast red-orange rock amongst a mass of reptiles without shells. I looked across the vast green and blue sands around the rock. There were trees with green wood among these sands. There were cracked foreign balls of sap that you could eat. There was a plant to drink from as well. It was yellow, but if you broke it, there was a thick purple liquid you could drink. This juice made you feel big and energetic. The lumps of sap made you relax and tingle. The sky was clear, except for some dusty clouds. One went by, and it was perfumed. I didn't know what scent it was upon waking. For me, there was no tahajjud or witr as-salat that night. I listened to Al-Quran 17, 19, 21, and 22 with the Muhammad Marmaduke Biqdal translation that day. I also made a rose scent offering, meaning retention. Taraweeh as-Salah was Al-Quran 42 through 43, 48 on the 29th of the 9th month of 1432. Before 10:20 p.m. in the 8th rakat, I felt a warm, pleasant crawling of my flesh. I knew something special was before me, preceding my seeing it. In the space where I would have placed my head, if I was in the condition to prostrate properly, I was having trouble doing all the extra that night, but I did something close. There was a being of strangely bright blue layers. Its presence surpassed that of any crowd of people. Masjid al-Nur, pronounced An-Nur, I don't know why I read that, has ever had. This being may have extended across the first prayer row entirely, but I dared not to take attention away from the prayer. It covered the ground in at least an 18-inch radius and veered towards the right. Its darkest and central layer was like a head. The outer layers were like energy fields. Each of the 3 outer layers were lighter than that inside it. The darkest layer was brighter than the lights of the entire building. This light being was 4 feet tall or so. In the 9th and 10th bows, I felt a presence across the front row, but saw nothing. I cried the whole time, not sad, without pain, just bliss. I felt so calm and content as I initially wrote down my experience. I was fully aware and buzzy as I wrote this. And earlier in the month, was it the first Saturday of the month, during the early afternoon prayers, when I prostrated, I swear there was something between where I put my forehead and where I put my knees. I didn't see anything, but there was definitely a presence there that was not mine. Between 1:07 and 4:15 a.m. on Monday the 29th of August 2011, I was flying fast through a thick atmosphere with something bright and colorful like a rainbow. There was no prayer after rising, tahajjud, as-salah, or odd-numbered prayer, witr, as-salat for me that night. I listened to Al-Quran 13, 14, 15, 16, and 23 with the MMP translation that day. The prayer of pauses was Surah 45 through 47:32 on the 30th night of the 9th month of 1432, between 1:30 and 4:30 a.m. on August 30th, 2011, I saw a light moving down the stairs, in my vision. There was no prayer after rest or group odd-numbered ritual prayer for me that night. I listened to Al-Quran, Surah 24 through 29, 27:65 separately, 27:66 separately, 27:74 separately, and 27:75, an extra time, with the MMP translation that day. Shawwal started at 1953, 7:53 Pacific Daylight Time, with its usual feeling. I left to arrive home at 8:50 p.m. After I got back from attending Isha, a salat, dusk contact prayer at 10:04 p.m., the buzz started to wear off. So sometimes I don't notice it immediately, but the feeling of the retreat that is there, but you don't notice it's there, it's a good feeling, and you just don't notice it's there, and then Ramadan ends, and it kind of starts to waver, and then the retreat ends, and at some point after one of these, each of those is like a layer that's like taken off of you, and it's a good layer, and you miss it, and may we all live to experience another Ramadan, and may I be able to do another retreat during Ramadan in the future.